Hey, that's Bottom Peeps, Evolution787 here today for another video about the Pokebilities metagame, and this time, it's going to be about the banned Pokemon in the Pokebilities metagame. Now, I will be going about this in the order that the Pokemon were banned, and the first Pokemon that you see, Bibarel, there's a bit of an exception with this, because it was banned at a certain time before, well, I'll explain once we get into it, but yeah, the three Pokemon that are not already banned in the Gen 7 OU metagame, because keep in mind, Pokebilities is only in Gen 7 as of now. They do not currently have a Gen 8 Pokebilities, which I hope it comes back and we do get to see it later, but that's not the point of this video. So, as of the Gen 7 OU Pokemon, the only Pokemon that are banned that aren't already in the Ubers or anything Ghost tier are Excadrill and Porygon Z. Now, wait a minute. Okay. You didn't mention Bibarel, but it's in this list of three Pokemon. So, what's the catch? Okay. Here's the thing. Bibarel was banned from Pokebilities at a point because of the ability Moody. Because Moody is already banned from normal OU play. And just combining that with Simple, which doubles its stat changes. So let's say you get the Moody boost and attack, and the Moody drop and defense. That means instead of +2 attack, because of Simple, it will be +4 attack and -2 defense. And then you have Unaware, which means that your defense will be -0 instead of -2. So you get your positive stat changes doubled and your negative stat changes ignored. So Moody already is an extremely RNG reliant but potentially broken ability. But adding on adding on Simple and Unaware just pushes it too far. Okay, so why isn't Bibarel banned in the Pokebilities metagame currently? Well, that's because in the progress of creating the metagame before it was put into place to actually be played, it was the people who created the metagame, or well, I shouldn't say created the metagame, but the people who coded everything were able to find out a way to make it where the banned abilities were not used, but the other abilities were used. So as a result, Bibarel currently, if you use it, will have only Simple and Unaware. It will not have Moody, and as a result, it is no longer banned from the Pokebilities metagame. Okay, now next, we have Excadrill. Okay, you guys probably already know by now, Sandrush is banned in, well, when it first came out as an ability in Gen 5, very few Pokemon had it. And it was banned to the Ubers tier because of this one Pokemon alone. Excadrill is what made Sandrush get banned from OU. Now, other speed boosting abilities and weather became over-centralizing, like Swift Swim, Kingdra, Ludicolo, and Kabutops got got Swift Swim banned, Venusaur got Chlorophyll banned, things like that. But, in Pokebilities, it is very similar, except it's not the exact same. Because you gotta keep in mind, In Gen 5, weather was permanent. And at the beginning of Pokebilities, when it was still in testing in Gen 6, weather was permanent. But then sand and rain teams were found to be way too powerful for the metagame. So they nerfed sand and rain down to the normal only 5 turns, or 8 with the damp rock. And then it was found out that hail somehow and sun teams were too powerful, so they nerfed sun and hail down to only 5 turns, or 8 with their respective weather rocks as well. Now, even despite this, Excadrill still got banned because all of its abilities in tandem are too much. Now, Sandrush, its speed is doubled. So let's say, you don't even need to have speed investment most of the time. Like, if you run Adamant Nature, full attack, 248, actually, well, let's just go down to, like, let's see. If you give it just, how the fuck, okay. If you just give Excadrill 160 in HP and 252 an attack plus the Adamant Nature, give the rest to either defense or special defense, you're still outspeeding most things when you're in sand, while at the same time having decent enough bulk to be able to take a hit and hit back in case you're not in sand, which makes Excadrill really great, and that's just Sand Rush. Now let's get to Sand Force. Okay, so Sand Force. It raises the power of ground, steel, and rock-type moves in the sand. Okay, well, I'm pretty sure you may already see some of the problem. Excadrill has 2 of those typings by itself. Steel and ground. So, Earthquake and Iron Head. One sec. Okay, guys, I am back. Back to Sand Force. Okay, you already see the problem. Earthquake and Iron Head are extremely powerful with Sand Force. But aren't there some Pokemon that are immune to Earthquake and resist Iron Head? Well, let's go through some of the Pokemon. Celesteela. Okay, that could be a really good check, but at the same time, Celesteela is also not that common in the metagame due to people wanting to use some of the Pokemon that get heavily benefited by this. No. Sorry, I'm trying to find some Pokemon that fit the category. Pelipper. Mega Charizard Y, even though it's not that likely to be used. Any fire and flying type or water and flying type. Most of the, and even some of the flying and steel types, even though Skarmory is not that good because it has a weak armor in this. All of them, even Skarmory, if it's in sand, even with full investment, full and HP and defense and an impish nature, will still be taking a lot of damage from one of Excadrill's coverage moves in sand, being Rock Slide. So for the Pokemon that are immune or resist Earthquake and also resist Iron Head, you have Rock Slide to cover most of them. And along with that, all those being made more powerful make it much easier to OHKO mostly anything in the meta. So, as a result, Excadrill just became over-centralizing in the Pokebilities metagame, and as a result, got banned. But there's one more ability that doesn't see much usage a lot of times, whether it be in Pokebilities or normal Smogon gameplay, that you don't see that often, and that's Mold Breaker. So, you may be thinking, oh, what about Bronzong? Can't Bronzong just run little coverage because it also resists Rock Slide. Well, that's the thing. Not even Bronzong could reliably counter Excadrill because Excadrill has Mold Breaker, which gets rid of Intimidate because it ignores Mold Breaker ignores the effects of other abilities. So like a Pokemon that gain an immunity, like if they have Flash Fire, they will be hit by Flamethrower, for example. If they have Levitate, they will be hit by Earthquake. So not even Levitate Pokemon like Bronzong or Flygon could counter Excadrill, even though Flygon wasn't really a counter before. Like, you get what I'm saying. Rotom Wash, which would normally be able to switch in on an Earthquake, it gets absolutely crushed, or not crushed because it's not getting stomped to the ground or anything, but you get what I'm saying. It gets taken care of really well because of the Mold Breaker ability. And then, along with that, let's see some of the biggest threats in the metagame. You have Clefable, which, yeah, has Unaware, but Unaware is... the effects of Unaware are taken out of consideration with Mold Breaker. So, yes, Clef can set up to be able to take Excadrill's hits better, but at the same time, Excadrill can also set up to still hit just as hard, if not harder. Let me get there real quick. Alolan Marowak, one of the very few reliable counters to Clefable, especially when it's set up. It gets OHKO'd by Earthquake, even with full HP full defense. One of the only ways to get rid of an Excadrill would be something like a boosted Hawlucha, and even then it takes a ton of damage from Rock Slide, and needs some support if you want to activate Acrobatics, which is perfectly fine because you can just slap on one of the Tapus and give Hawlucha one of the seeds, and boom, you got that ready. But the thing is, even with that, there were too few ways to deal with Excadrill, and as a result, it was banned. Now, Excadrill was more of a one-trick pony, with the reason why it was banned. Same as Bibarel, but Porygon Z is a bit more complex, because Excadrill and Bibarel mainly just ran one set. Porygon Z could run several. Like, you could run Min Speed to get Analytic to work. You could run Normalium Z with Conversion to get the stat boost in every single stat. You could run Choice Scarf to be able to outspeed everything. Like, you could run Specs to hit even harder. Porygon Z just had so many options. And at the end of the day, I believe that all those options were what pushed it too far, because it already has insane coverage. Like, Ice Beam, Discharge, or Thunderbolt, depending on which one you want. Nasty Plot, Recover, Psyshock and Psychic, Signal Beam, Ice Beam. Then you have the already powerful Tri-Attack. A lot of times they'll come in with a special attack boost because of download. Your stab is 2 instead of 1.5. So, like, Tri-Attack, instead of being base 120 power after the stab multiplier, will be base 160 power after the stab multiplier, making it much more powerful. And if you move slower, your moves have 130% of the power they normally had. So you could just run minimum speed and then run some investment in you could just run some investment in the defenses and give it a modest nature. So sure, the defense and special defense may not be that good. But a lot of times you didn't even need to run that. A lot of times you didn't even need analytic to be a thing. So you could just run a timid nature, or you could run modest with Scarf to still outspeed and get the full boost from adaptability and download, even if you don't have analytic. And as a result, due to the sheer versatility that Porygon had with its movesets, with everything it could do to hugely change the impact of a game, it ended up being banned. Now, there was a bit of an issue until I pointed it out a few weeks ago that when you read the info on Pokebilities, it said Porygon was banned, but they forgot to implement that in the servers where Pokebilities existed. So you could still use Porygon. But thankfully, after I pointed out, it only took like 2 days, and if you tried to validate a team after putting a Porygon in there, it would say Porygon is banned. Porygon Z. I just say Porygon instead of Porygon Z. As you see, Bibarel is no longer banned because they found a way to cancel out or to remove Moody. Excadrill is banned. Porygon Z is banned. And because of this, the Pokebilities metagame is not nearly as one-dimensional as it would be with otherwise. Because if Moody Bibarel still existed, you would see Bibarel running around everywhere, because Unaware makes Moody even more busted, and Simple just multiplies that by 100. Then you have the absolute sand monster Excadrill, you have the powerhouse of Porygon Z, and then you combine that, like, you could just run these three with things that get even more boosts from sand and can even set it up themselves. Like Hippowdon becomes an absolute monster with Stone Edge, Iron Head, and Earthquake in the sand. Gigalith, it can guaranteed take a hit if you want to set up Stealth Rocks, and it doesn't only set up sand and get boosted as well, but because it can take a hit, you can give it something like Custat Berry and give it Explosion or something to take advantage of being able to get a second hit. And then the last Pokemon, like, it would be another Pokemon with Sand Rush, or it would be Tyranitar. Like, Stoutland is definitely the best option because you get Intimidate and Scrappy along with this, but things like this basic sand team would end up being so over-centralizing just because of how many threats that were close to unbreakable, if not unbreakable, period, it has. And as a result, Bibarel, before it was found out, before a way to remove Moody but have the other two abilities was found out, was banned, Excadrill was banned, and Porygon Z was banned, putting the metagame in an overall much healthier state, even if it is a much more stall-oriented state, which, at the same time, as much as I may not like stall, and while it is the undoubtedly better playstyle, while stall is undoubtedly the better playstyle and I don't like it, I'm not going to act for a second like hyper offense or offensive weather is not viable to run, because it still is. Like, sun teams and rain teams you see quite a lot. You can run sand teams if you know how. Hill teams, very situational. Like, I guess you could use Beartic because it counters other sand teams. Alolan Sand Slash because it has an okay attacking prowess. And Alolan Ninetales is great because while a Snow Cloak is disabled, so it doesn't get the evasion boost from its own hail that it sets up, it can still run Aurora Veil. So, weather strategies and hyper offense are still good, even if they aren't as good as stall, just having those 3 Pokemon banned made some of the styles not completely over-centralizing and busted anymore. Like, Bibarel, you could fit it on any team. You could fit it on Stall, you could fit it on Hyper Offense, you could fit it on Weather teams. Excadrill, you could pretty much only fit it on a Sand team. So Sand became over-centralizing. And then Porygon Z could be fit on literally any team and and it could be put in so many scenarios, or I shouldn't say so many scenarios, and it had so many options of what kind of set it wanted to run that could just mess up all kinds of different teams. So as a result, those 3 Pokemon being banned was, in my opinion, extremely healthy and an amazing decision for the Pokebilities metagame. Anyways, guys, this has been Typhlosion787, and I'm out of the house. Bye!